The Earth is sending out distress signals, loud and clear. We are no longer standing at a distant crossroads contemplating future possibilities of climate change. Instead, we find ourselves engulfed by a full-blown global climate emergency, a crisis demanding immediate, unwavering attention and action from every corner of society. The time for gentle persuasion and incremental adjustments has long passed us by. The statistics paint a grim picture. As of May 2025, our planet has warmed by a staggering plus 2.3 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. This isn't just a number, it's a stark indicator of the profound stress we are placing on the delicate ecosystems that sustain all life. The consequences are already unfolding before our very eyes, touching lives and livelihoods across continents with increasing ferocity and frequency, leaving little room for doubt. The recent UN Climate Change Conference, COP29, held in Baku, Azerbaijan, in November 2024, unfortunately, fell short of the decisive action required. Many observers and participants noted a significant gap between the scale of the crisis and the commitments made, particularly concerning the crucial aspect of global climate finance. References to the vital role of nature in climate solutions were reportedly diluted, and the conference did not adequately bridge the ever-widening finance gap needed to support vulnerable nations. This outcome has only amplified the urgency, placing even greater hopes and pressures on future gatherings like COP30 in Brazil. The window for merely mitigating future damage is rapidly closing, pushing us towards a more desperate phase of managing escalating crises. The repercussions of this escalating crisis are not abstract threats looming in a distant future. They are harsh realities today. Irreversible thresholds have already been breached for critical planetary systems like the Amazon rainforest, the Arctic ice shields, and vibrant coral reefs. These are not isolated incidents but interconnected symptoms of a deeply wounded planet. Over 30 countries are currently grappling with extreme water scarcity, a fundamental threat to human survival and societal stability. Furthermore, sophisticated AI forecasts now predict a terrifying 40% risk of widespread crop failure in global south regions, areas often least responsible for the emissions driving this crisis, yet most vulnerable to its devastating impacts. The human cost is immense and continues to grow daily. The narrative of climate change has shifted from a future problem to a present-day catastrophe. The Global Climate Engineering Alliance, GCEA, has soberly concluded that the time for truly reversible intervention has, tragically, passed. We are now firmly in an era where our primary focus must be on damage control and the rapid deployment of systemic resilience measures. This is not an admission of defeat but a realistic assessment of the monumental challenge before us. It calls for a paradigm shift in our thinking, moving from gradualism to emergency speed action. The well-being of billions and indeed the stability of our civilization hinges on our collective response in this critical moment. The planet's fever is high, and the diagnosis demands immediate, intensive care. In this critical juncture, the role of major global financial institutions becomes paramount. Entities like BlackRock, Vanguard, and Rothschild Trust Advisors, along with influential bodies such as the Bilderberg Group Steering Committee, hold significant sway over the world's capital flows. Their decisions, or indecisions, can either accelerate our descent into climate chaos or help steer us towards a more sustainable and equitable future. The Global Climate Engineering Alliance has issued a final mandate, a clear and urgent call for the immediate disbursement of the previously acknowledged and approved $30 billion Climate Action Deployment Fund. This fund is not a panacea, but it represents a critical lifeline, a tangible commitment needed to kickstart widespread effective climate action. The demand for formal acknowledgement of this disbursement and confirmation of the fund transfer within a tight 48-hour window by May 22, 2025 underscores the extreme urgency. These financial giants, alongside sovereign finance institutions, had already given their consensus to this fund. The current moment is therefore not about negotiation, but about execution. It is about translating past agreements into present action. The GCEA's directive is a stark reminder that the time for deliberation is over. The time for decisive financial commitment is now. The Blue Phoenix Initiative, with Mr. Dwi Sialevi of Indonesia designated as lead executor, stands ready, but it cannot launch without the promised resources cleared and validated through established channels like Bank Mandiri and BNI. The failure of these institutions to act swiftly would not just be a missed opportunity, it would be a profound betrayal of public trust and a shirking of immense responsibility. The consequences of inaction, as outlined by the GCEA, are catastrophic. Millions of additional climate-related deaths annually, the complete breakdown of economies in vulnerable nations already teetering on the brink, and massive new waves of climate migration towards regions like the European Union and North America. Such outcomes would further destabilize an already fragile global order and erode any remaining faith in our multilateral institutions to address existential threats. The financial world, often seen as a driver of the very systems that have exacerbated the crisis, now has a chance to be a part of the solution. This is no longer merely an environmental issue. It is a fundamental question of civilizational survival, as the GCEA so rightly states. The acknowledgement and action from these financial powerhouses are critical because they manage the vast pools of capital needed to fund the transition. Their involvement signals to the rest of the world that the crisis is being taken seriously at the highest levels of global finance. This $30 billion is a crucial catalyst, intended to unlock further investment and galvanize global efforts. The world is watching, and the patience for delay has worn thin. The integrity of our global financial system and its claim to serve humanity's broader interests is truly on the line. Fortunately, this urgent call for action does not occur in a vacuum of solutions. A suite of 10 categories of peer-reviewed and prototype technologies stands ready for multilateral rollout, projected for deployment as early as Q3 2025, pending the release of the Climate Action Deployment Fund. These are not speculative fantasies, but tangible innovations developed through rigorous scientific research and real-world testing. They offer potent tools to mitigate the unfolding climate disaster and build resilience on a scale never before imagined. The Blue Phoenix Initiative, under the leadership of Mr. Dewey Sialevi, is designed to be the operational vehicle for this widespread deployment, bringing these advanced solutions to the front lines of the climate crisis. Among these groundbreaking technologies are AI carbon conversion systems, capable of transforming harmful CO2 emissions into valuable fuels and materials, effectively turning a liability into an asset. Superconductor energy grids promise near-perfect efficiency in clean energy transfer, revolutionizing how we power our societies and drastically reducing transmission losses. Imagine climate-resilient megacities, designed as AI-integrated urban ecosystems that can adapt to and withstand extreme weather events. Furthermore, satellite atmospheric modulation offers possibilities for localized rainfall management and heatwave control, providing targeted relief to drought-stricken or dangerously overheated regions. These are not minor tweaks, they are game-changers. The portfolio of ready solutions extends further, addressing critical needs across diverse sectors. Oceanic cooling platforms aim to regenerate vital coral reefs and marine ecosystems, which are currently facing collapse due to rising sea temperatures and acidification. A quantum climate forecast network could provide real-time global analytics with unprecedented accuracy, enabling better preparedness and response to climate-related hazards. Vertical AI agrosystems offer the potential for tenfold increases in food production yields, crucial for ensuring food security in a world of increasing climate variability. An AI forest sentinel network would provide constant surveillance against wildfires and deforestation, protecting our planet's essential carbon sinks. These tools represent hope, ingenuity, and a pathway forward. Water reclamation arrays are designed to establish global anti-drought networks, tackling water scarcity on a massive scale. Geo-AI infrastructure defense systems will help protect critical infrastructure from heat waves, floods, and seismic events, safeguarding communities and economies. The deployment of these technologies, facilitated by the $30 billion fund, is not just about averting disaster. It is about actively building a more resilient, sustainable, and equitable world. The leadership, demonstrated by figures like Mr. Sialevi and his team, and the scientific ingenuity are present. The only missing ingredient is the political and financial will to unleash this transformative potential before it is too late. The deployment of the $30 billion Climate Action Deployment Fund, channeled through initiatives like Blue Phoenix, is projected to yield significant strategic outcomes within a remarkably short time frame of 36 months. These are not just environmental gains but profound socioeconomic benefits. The plan anticipates the creation of over 10 million green jobs across 22 countries, offering new livelihoods and economic revitalization. A targeted 40% global reduction in CO2 emissions is a cornerstone of the initiative, a vital step towards stabilizing our climate. Furthermore, a flagship project aims to see IKN Nusantara, Indonesia's new capital, become fully self-sustaining by 2027, serving as a global model for climate-resilient development and innovation. This is the future we can choose. The strategic deployment also includes the protection of critical infrastructure in 7 climate-critical zones, safeguarding investments and human settlements from the escalating impacts of climate change. Crucially, the initiative aims to provide free water, energy and food mesh networks in crisis zones, addressing the most fundamental human needs for populations pushed to the brink by environmental collapse. These outcomes illustrate a pathway towards not just survival, but a more just and secure world. However, this positive vision stands in stark contrast to the devastating consequences of continued inaction, a path that the GCEA warns will lead to unimaginable suffering and instability on a global scale if this fund is not immediately activated. The GCEA's directive minces no words about the alternative millions of additional climate-related deaths occurring annually, a horrifying and preventable loss of life. Vulnerable nations will face the complete breakdown of their economies, leading to widespread poverty and social unrest. This will inevitably trigger massive new waves of climate migration, as desperate people are forced to flee uninhabitable lands, placing immense strain on receiving nations in regions like the EU and North America. Such pressures will almost certainly lead to the proliferation of rogue, uncoordinated climate interventions, and an increase in resource conflicts as nations scramble for dwindling necessities. The trust in our global multilateral institutions, already fragile, would likely completely erode. The final declaration from the Global Climate Engineering Alliance serves as a somber yet resolute conclusion. The science is resolved, the solutions are ready, the leadership is present, only political and financial will remain pending. This is no longer a climate issue, this is a civilizational survival issue. The choice before us, particularly before those controlling the levers of global finance, is stark. It is a choice between immediate, decisive action fueled by courage and commitment, or a path of continued delay that guarantees escalating catastrophe. The $30 billion fund is not merely a sum of money, it is a symbol of our collective willingness to fight for a livable future. The time for hesitation is over. The time for bold leadership and unwavering financial commitment is now.